What's going on, guys? Another Sunday scan coming at you. This time it's Easter Sunday. I hope you guys are all doing well. I'm all dressed up for the big Easter Sunday dinner that we're gonna have for lunch, I guess. But I'm just kidding. I'm just going home and having ham. But at any rate, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope your families are doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I want to thank everybody that came out yesterday for our big event. We had over 6,000 people register for it, nearly 3,000, 2,500 to 3,000, literally there all day. That's just unheard of, and it's really neat that all came together so quickly. I think it was about 2 weeks ago I said I was starting to think of ideas, and it was last week that I announced it. And, without Zach at Traders for a Cause, all of us coming together and really just putting it together that quickly, I mean, it wouldn't have been possible. Every single speaker yesterday was given a week's notice. Are you in or you out? And, pretty much everybody was in. And it got stacked really quickly. We had over about, I think, 30 speakers between a couple of the Q&A sessions, I would say, and it was just incredible. So we raised over $135,000, and we've never done that. We do the big event in Vegas, and obviously there's cost associated with putting that on, but this event was literally free. So 100% of every single dollar that we got is able to go to COVID-19 beneficiaries. So if you guys did not participate, if you were not there, you can go to tradersforacause.org. It's the number 4. And you'll see the pop-up, and you can get on the newsletter, and we'll be sending it out to everybody that's on there. So if you registered and you didn't go there yesterday, then that's okay. We're working on getting those videos turned around very quickly. But look, we just did this within a week. We just did the event yesterday. Give us a few days, and we should be rolling by then. So, again, thank you guys to everybody that spoke. Thank you guys for everybody that showed up. Thank you guys for everybody that donated. You can still donate as well. A few people were like, yeah, I gave $5 or $25, whatever. It doesn't really make a big difference. You know what? It does, because there's probably thousands of people that are just lurking and watching that may not donate at all. And you did one better. So you're a doer. And that's kind of, I talked about that a little bit during my presentation. As well, if you want the slides from my presentation, email me, Nate@traders4acause.org, and just forward me your donation receipt, and I will reply with the slides from yesterday, as well as if you had any questions. So I appreciate all you guys for taking the time. And let's get right into it. I think that the biggest stuff that we need to talk about tonight is 1 is price alerts, and 2 is understanding liquidity, right? So price alerts, we have the built-in feature. I talk about it a lot in the room, and it's simple. E-Trade has it, a lot of other platforms have it, but that's it. It's on your platform, or you get a text message and you don't see it until 4 p.m. This is the market where price alerts are super helpful, because we have thousands of names on watch. How do you cut down your watch list to 2 or 3, but not miss all these other ones that you're prepared for? You look at the range that it's stuck in, and you set a price alert for when it breaks over this level, maybe the next step up, and also when it breaks under that level, and the areas in which you would be interested. And then it's off radar. You don't have to watch it. It's going to alert you when it's time. It's going to say, hey, Nate, it's time. Get ready. And you've already seen the stock once. You're already prepared, but you didn't have to have it up on watch where it's pulling your focus all over the place. And you can concentrate on those 2 or 3 that you're focused on. And that's really what it comes down to in this market. The other thing that I want to talk about tonight was understanding liquidity. And you could get away with a lot of size last week. And I'm talking serious size. You could trade CCL, you could trade 20, 50, 90, 100,000 shares if you wanted to, without moving the market, without really being super aggressive. I mean, yeah, that's an aggressive position, but you could do it. And it wasn't a market moving event to get in and out of that position, right? However, you have to recognize when it's time to, pull it back a little bit. And maybe that's this week, maybe it's not. Same thing with MFA. You could trade 50 to 100,000 shares easily. And that's great, but you have to recognize when the liquidity dries up a little bit. And there's times to trade big size, there's times to trade, just normal size. And I always like to be a percentage of the volume. I don't want to be a big percentage. I want us to be a small percentage. So I always trade relative to the volume that's, circulating, that's going on. I want to be a little player in this big space, because you know what? When you're the biggest player, it only takes that one name, and they can rock you. There's always somebody bigger. So be aware of that, and just kind of keep that into in your thoughts when you're taking a trade. We've had a lot of huge volume, and what happens is you get those channels, you get those breakouts, you get those great opportunities, and then that's it. Liquidity gets shot, and it starts to kind of trend in whatever directions that it was thinking of going or potentially headed. And when that happens, if you're on the wrong side with too much size, you know how it ends. So be cautious of that. Like I said yesterday on the presentation, volume always trumps all. I am aware of fundamentals. I've always said, trade the ticker, not the company. That does not mean, have no idea what's going on with the company, right? What it means is that basically volume trumps all. Trade the ticker when it comes down to it. When the volume is and the trend is just ripping, you need to respect the trend. If you're too fundamentally biased, you're going to get blown out. MBRX is a great example of that on Wednesday, I believe, Wednesday morning, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was Thursday. But the day that it went up to about almost $2, right? Everybody knew that it has plenty of paper to sell. They need money yesterday. They, check all the boxes. It's junk. And it's likely to raise. And it's likely to unwind. And it's likely to, get smoked. But if everybody knows that, volume's clicking and trend is holding, you're no better than, the next guy who knows nothing about it and is actually, long. They're actually making money, and you put too much bias on, the fundamental aspects and didn't respect the technical. So just always think about that. Keep that in mind. You really don't need a ton of fundamental analysis in this current market. At least I'm not as focused on that. I look for the outliers. I look for the ones that potentially could be an unwinder. And MBRX is an example of that. That's why I've been swinging it short the last couple of days. But in the end, it had 160 million shares or so. So look, another PR could always just pop and give another opportunity, and you have to be aware of that. So getting right into scan tonight, and I'm gonna fire off a few ideas, and I've got a bigger watch list. Just like my first watch is MFA. It's a mortgage name. So when I say MFA, I also am in my head thinking PMT, XAN, TWO, NY. Let's see, I had a couple others. MAC, LADR, BXMT. So I'm always thinking of a basket of names for the mortgage names. And you can spread your risk across multiple names. And for me, that's what I like to do rather than just go, huge into one name. I can spread it across just in case risk is elevated when news comes out on one or another. At least you don't have all your eggs in one basket. So MFA is again, is about 150 million shares traded. Let's go ahead and pull it up. Had about 150 million shares traded on Friday. So we're in that situation that I was talking about. Super crazy liquidity. Literally trade whatever size you want, right? Right over here, 158 million shares. So as it ramped last time, we had 280 million shares, and it started to fade, and all of a sudden it went down to 45 million. You can't trade the same size that you would when there's 200 million shares as you can when there's 40 million, or vice versa. And same thing, as this starts to fade off a little bit, you need to recognize the volume and make sure that you are still a smaller percentage and not a big percentage of that volume. But at any rate, higher the better. Ideally we get some type of blow off moves. I'm not interested in every single move on this name. I'm interested in that blow off move, failed follow through momentum, potential unwind. You need to watch all of these. There's going to be ones like LADR. LADR we talked about in the room on Friday. I talked about in the presentation yesterday. This is in the same kind of sector as XAN, MFA that we just talked about, PMT, as well as many of the other ones, right? So they all were leaning down. Meanwhile, LADR was steady. It was a big buyer at 8, kept on basing at 780s every time. You should assume that two things. One, 780s is going to be that key level. Set a price alert. Doesn't mean short at 780s. It means be aware of 780s. And at that point, that's when the tide's going to probably turn. And it means crack 760s, come back 780s, fail, use 780s as a guide. I don't want to anticipate 780s cracking. You're going to get trapped. And a lot of people did on Friday. So if mortgages are up on Monday, this one might be an outlier. It might be a nice little breakout because you can see the volume associated right here. And they trapped folks. They trapped a lot of folks. And every single other mortgage name was like this. This one was flat. So you have to take notes. You have to recognize these things. And that's what I look for when and why I trade certain names over others. So again, MFA, there's no reason to go today with a plan and say, hey, I'm going to do X. I want to be prepared. I want to look left. There's a lot of consolidation in the 220s. There's a lot of basically resistance. So usually whenever I'm thinking about the trade, I want to at least assume it's going to go back up to VWAP level and then look left for that next level, 220s, 230s. But for now, if it starts to base over 210s, I'm going to assume that it's going to continue to break out. It had a lot of good volume. But overall, I'm going to watch it with those 5 or 6 other names along with some others. I'm going to look for opportunities on the others and see what we get. So that's going to be one main watch. CCL has been really a great opportunity. This is one of the ones I want to be aware of a potential liquidity situation, right? Where I get used to trading 30, 40, 50,000 shares and all of a sudden that turns into it starts jumping around 30 to 50 cents on a whim. I don't want that. So I need to be aware of what it's doing, how it's trading. And we're going to learn a lot obviously Monday, Tuesday with what the market does. It doesn't necessarily follow the market, but if the market's roaring, then this likely is going to continue to go higher as well. So we're at very key levels here. You can look left, prior tops, prior areas of resistance. So if we start to form a base, and typically what I look for, you look at prior areas, right? So 1320s, basically 1270 to 1330s, 1320s is going to be those key levels. So in the morning, if we gap into this level, I'm going to assume that it's probably going to want to come back towards 1280s, something like that. But when you have these huge washouts, this is actually good for the longevity of the potential reversal, right? So again, if market agrees, obviously most of these will probably skip up as well. But when you have action like this, you just flushed out a ton of longs, a ton of people that were on the fence about maybe selling, maybe trapped a bunch of shorts. This is healthy for a continuation higher, especially when they absorb the trend. So at any rate, love the volume here, love the action. Be aware, be cautious of getting trapped up in this channel. We talked about channels yesterday on the presentation. So you don't want to be anticipating a breakout over this level. I'd rather buy higher. I'd rather buy higher after it breaks through this channel that it's stuck in and then scale with a risk based off that top of the channel. I don't want to be shorting into this weakness because there's a good chance it snaps right back up and I end up covering towards the top of the channel. So be aware and realize if it's stuck in this trend, don't be the guy shorting here, don't be the guy buying here. because you're going to be shorting here and covering here, or you're going to be buying here and selling here. Hopefully that makes sense. But that's what you want to be looking for, and that's what I'm looking for. APA was a monster. This is a great example. Failed follow through momentum. And you just waited for the trade. I put on a little bit. I always dabble to get a little feel for what's going on. And then after things kind of calm down a little bit or prove out my thesis, I start to scale in. And that means I press F5 a lot. And from that point forward, assume that VWAP's going to hold. I like to rescale in around the core, cover any good flushes, assume VWAP is now going to be the top, and then unwind from there. It's not always the case, and just like, again, we talked on the presentation yesterday, you want to have a buffer. You don't want to say, okay, I'm stopping out right at VWAP. That's everybody's plan. You want to give yourself a buffer. You want to let people exhaust. You want to let people do their thing, and then you pick up the pieces. So those are my top 3 watches for tomorrow. And then, we get into, other ones that I want to just be familiar with. MBRX, higher the better. I am currently short, smaller than I was, about a third. I've been trading around a core from basically Thursday morning. I said Wednesday or Thursday before, it was Thursday. So this is where, a lot of shorts, fundamental type shorts got squeezed. Offered a nice opportunity. I got short throughout the day. You can see here, I talked about this yesterday as well. You can see here how 160s was a key level, as well as 150s or so as the base, right? So I swung this short and covered into the covered throughout the day because it had a relatively weak close. Had it had a strong close, I would have held more short. But they didn't really squeeze anybody out. So that next morning, they squeezed everybody out that was timid, stubborn, or oversized. And they squeezed everybody out. I looked left to kind of get a feel for where could this go before it meets resistance. And as you guys saw, I posted that trade, scaled into that level and then covered throughout the day. And it worked out really, really well. But I went back to the same size that I had on Thursday. So I'm not looking to, continually size just because it had huge volume. You can't ignore this volume right here. So you want to be aware of that. So other than that, ICD, higher the better. This one had quite an opportunity for the short side. Higher the better, parabolic, let it blow off, and then looking to get short on all the pops throughout that unwind. For right now, basically went up. The goal would be to get up towards VWAP, maybe a little higher, squeeze out anybody that was maybe a little bit too aggressive, and then look for backside fade. It was easy to borrow, so to me that means Tuesday, Wednesday, I want to pay attention for any potential forced buy-in, just like we saw on the PSTI idea. BAC, same idea. Higher the better. Let this thing rip up. Let this thing, go parabolic. But we've been straight up. I want to react and look for the backside of the move. This is very similar to the APA style trade where it just kind of had that rebound up without a correction. If you go back to CCL where I said it was good for it to pull back in the manner that it did, same situation. APA never pulled back. It was just straight up. That's why I was interested in that. Same thing with BAC. Straight up on the daily. Higher the better. And when we start to pull back again on the market, I'll be looking at this one. OXY, same thing. Higher the better. I like this trade with oil. Keep an eye out, with oil. You can see how much of a VWAP, how good VWAP can aid your trading. Give you an idea of where it could go. Right over here, it even kissed it. That's why you don't want to always have your stop right on VWAP. You would have stopped right there and would have been stuck. So last ideas for potential long side continuation ideas. PSTI, you guys probably saw, I got long 440s, 420s, 440s. I scaled to the winner. This was a volume liquidity trap. Shorts, it never failed. You can see that it continued to hold VWAP throughout the day. That's why I held it over. I tweeted on Thursday that I was holding it overnight, and that next morning we just had a huge buy-in and immediately got 2 to 250 in our direction. So that was fantastic. I didn't get the whole 850 move, unfortunately, but I'm not confident that we're going to unwind right away. So higher the better. We might still have a nice blow off. The volume's still good. And I think everybody's more on the short side than they are on the long side. And so with that said, we might have a little bit more opportunity. Acre, this again, liquidity trap. I went over it on the presentation yesterday. If you guys remember BPTH, if you guys remember HEPA, and the same reason with PSTI. That does not mean it's a buy. That does not mean it's a long. That does not mean it's going to go anywhere. I currently have some just because I don't want to forget, but it doesn't mean that it has to go or it will go. Okay, so I want to set price alerts for 6, 650, and 7. And at each of those stages, if it starts to break out and hold, then it's proving the thesis correct. NLS, a little baby Peloton. Nice breakout. It's pretty clear what the key level is here. Just draw a line across right at the top there. We'll call it 4. We'll call it 420. So if we start to base at 4 and we set up for that 420 breakout, we might have something special here. So we might have a nice big breakout. First day of 7 million shares traded. First day of some actual real volume. Last time it had 7 million was back on 10/23, so back into October. So we might have something nice here. It's been broken down for quite some time. Other than that, Tilray, I've been swinging around a core, and I am up against the guy that owns this building is doing some construction outside. So I'm going to try to speed it up because he's bringing his machinery over here, and I can hear it coming. But anyway, this has been great. It doesn't look like much, but this is good range. This is under 6 all the way up to 750s. I've been trading a decent amount of size around a core. So it's been, kind of adding up. So it's been great. Lower the better, looking for breakouts. KSS, M, and BBY. These are all retail ideas for the fade. It doesn't mean I'm looking to just fade them all. Tomorrow, I'm looking for trend joins. You can see, look left, especially on BBY. You're coming into some resistance here. You can see clearly on M that 7 is a key level. But I like to have this basket of names and then let it run. You saw yesterday or Friday on KSS, BBBY, and M. I just let them run. Let it pull back, retest, lower high. I want to join that risk to the high. And that's exactly what we did. It ended up working out pretty well. You don't even need a lot of size. Dabble in if you're right. Dabble in more. If you're right, scale in more. And most importantly, lock in around the core. Other than that, mortgage names we already talked about. So what I said about MFA to start today applies to, NYMT. It applies to XAN. PMT, BXMT, TWO. MAC is a little bit different. I think it's commercial, or I don't remember what it is, but similar. They all get the same charts. But I try to look for the most volume, the most opportunity out of all of these. There's a lot of different names. Maybe a couple go 20 cents, 30 cents. The other ones go $2, $3 on 20, 30, 50 million shares. That's the one I'm interested in. I don't want the lower liquidity names. I want high liquidity, big moves, and you just need to be patient with these things. Don't try to find the top. And again, I like to dabble, but there's a difference between dabbling, trying to find the top, and trying to find the top. So make sure that if you are taking a position prior to it, forming a top, that it legitimately is a dabble. And for example, I might be 500 or 1,000 shares, and my full size might be 10,000 shares. So look at that percentage and make sure that your full size is in 1,000 and you're dabbling with 500. That's half your size. So just be aware of that. Be cautious of that. So shorter scan tonight. I tried to kind of keep it slim. There's so much going on right now. Price alerts are a must. Mo El Bazzoni, I don't know. I think you're actually a member, if it is the same Mo. And if it is, thank you for, you donated 10%. And if it's not you, you still want anyway. But email me and you get the free month of IU or the Momo Traders book, whatever you prefer. But again, if it is you, Mo, in the room, thank you for also doing 10% of your earnings last week alone. So that was great donation by you, and really appreciate you guys coming out yesterday, supporting Traders for a Cause. Pretty neat. Great event. We will have the videos soon. It's a small, charity, and it's Zach was running 24 hours a day the last week. So once he sleeps for more than maybe 8 hours, he'll be back at it and turning those videos around quickly. So again, thank you so much for supporting Traders for a Cause this weekend. If you guys have any questions about the room, Cam at investorsunderground.com. He's more than willing to answer any questions you might have before coming on board. And again, happy Easter, Passover, whatever it may be that you celebrate. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch Scan. And as always, biggest takeaway below, please. Tell me what your biggest takeaway was. You guys provided me with some great ideas for videos. And as you saw, I provided a live trading video. Normally, probably not something I would do, but we might do some more. So again, thank you guys for the support, and we'll catch you soon.